Yes, that's why this podcast does have a health warning. If you intend to,
if you do not like history, please don't listen to this podcast.
That's one of them. And then if you do like storytelling but you intend to use it for evil, then please also stop listening because you will learn some dark arts. Sam, I've let you riff on this podcast because I really enjoy listening to you. And I think many of the people listening right now probably came to Story Matters through our Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And if they'd had a suspicion that, here's another American marketer who's just copying someone else off a blog post he read, he doesn't really know anything about storytelling. If they thought that, then I think they can now rest assured that this is something that you've spent quite a lot of time thinking about. And I've really enjoyed listening to.
Well, Paddy, one of the things that, I never set out to be a professional marketer. I joined the Army at 18 and imagine for a while when I left the Army, I might teach history. And I just kind of fell into it when I was playing around with online. I was just fascinated by the possibilities of the internet, but it was never my plan to teach marketing or storytelling because I don't view myself as a marketing educator per se, although that's one thing we happen to specialize at and do in this agency. But as much as I view myself as someone who loves great stories, I'm very aware of the impact they've had on history and would like to play some small part in influencing the direction of storytelling in the digital age. And that's what our humble movement on Story Matters is about right now. And our agency try and help people one at a time tell great stories, try and coach business owners on telling better stories. But then, hopefully, we've got some bigger plans to help more people in terms of telling better stories.
So just thinking about maybe what some of our listeners might be thinking about right now. Okay, so we've traveled through time, quite literally over 2,000 years of history and storytelling. What does this mean for me, the listener, business owner or marketing manager right now for the future?
Well, there's a couple things that I think everyone should be aware of if you are committed to influencing through storytelling is you are a small vessel or even person on a surfboard in a big ocean, and the currents of that ocean you can't control. The historical wave that you're surfing right now is what it is, and before you create a strategy as a business owner, understanding the waves that you're surfing and the currents that you cannot control, I think gives you a chance to influence your destiny as a business owner. And that's why I like to start out with the big picture and zoom back in. A great book about this, and in fact, where I got some of these ideas from is a book called by Ryan Holiday, called Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator. And he starts with not such a grand scope of history that I just described in terms of like taking it all the way back. But he does talk about the recent history of storytelling, and he describes why the Trump phenomenon, for example, happens and why you're getting this massive, very vicious war right now on the internet and on Facebook and through blogs and other news sites that you weren't seeing before. And you have to understand what you're competing with as a business owner. I mean, you're competing as a business owner with great forces that are competing for attention to really consolidate power in this world. I mean, Donald Trump came out of nowhere as a provocateur, real estate tycoon, celebrity, television personality to become president of the United States. That would not have happened 20 years ago. That he never would have gotten into the presidential race. And he did it through social media. He did it through micro-targeting on Facebook ads and really understanding who he was speaking to at a very granular level, his campaign, and speaking to them and telling them what they wanted to hear. So first of all, you're competing with big forces that are competing for information for the people that you're trying to influence online. So if you're just a small business owner, you need to understand the big currents of what's at stake, okay? Because when you understand what's at stake, you can understand how you fit into it and where people's attention is going and what the great forces that control information, where they want people's attention to go. And I can't predict history. In fact, the thing I love about, I can't predict the future. And the thing I love about history, when people ask me, well, was the Iraq war a good idea? Because I was there twice. I said, well, give me 50 years and I'll tell you, when all the generals and people who made all the decisions are dead and everyone can speak honestly about what they observed. But at the risk of making a few predictions, one of two things is going to happen. Is there's going to be more and more disruption and strife as a result of the disruption of the gatekeepers. And that could have huge geopolitical consequences even. So that's something to be aware of as a business owner is if war happens as a result of this meta trend in terms of information disruption and revolution. I mean, for the first time in my lifetime, it looks like civil strife could potentially happen in America. It's quite scary to watch. Certainly you see what's happening with Russia trying to influence European elections and American elections and things like that. So there's huge trends that could influence you as a business owner. Whether you want to think about it or not, geopolitics matters, especially when things are not going well. And I've been in situations and seen it where society is not working, it's not peaceful, and that's a whole new reality for business owners. Everything will change if that happens. So that's one possibility. The other possibility, and the more hopeful one, and the one I'd like to participate in, is last great information disruption 350 years before the information revolution. It took a long, long time for publishing houses and responsible sorters and purveyors of information to grow up. And these became governments, and obviously they didn't use it all that responsibly when you think about some of the wars that started as a result of it. And we have a great disruption, and the question is, when is the consolidation going to start to happen again? When are digital publishing houses going to start to come together and create stories that are so compelling that people just don't listen to all the noise out there? Because, people are so frustrated. I know I personally am so frustrated about all the news sites out there that I don't know if I can trust. I don't know where this information came from, that I only read a couple very trusted sources of information. The Economist magazine is my favorite. Sometimes I read some other, very well respected publications where I know that these editors are checking facts and that there's something responsible and considered and not just totally one-sided. Now, you have to know that every newspaper has an agenda. As long as you know that agenda starting out, which ones are responsible versus completely irresponsible and inciting things. And for a consolidation to happen where these forces that are out there that are disrupting society, it's a war, it's an arms race to tell better stories that make people trust and connect with you as a storyteller, whether you're a publishing house that's publishing great authors with great ideas, or you're a newspaper, or you're a brand that just wants to really connect with your audience. I mean, there's a huge consolidation happening, and there's only going to be a couple of big players standing. I think when what I believe is a great consolidation in digital publishing and digital information gatekeepers happens, and just to understand that that's going to happen, and that if you and your industry, you will be swamped. I mean, 10 years ago, I knew a guy who was dispatching black cars in New York City and was running a thriving limousine service. And look what happened when Uber came around, and just absolutely consolidated that entire industry, and has told a great and compelling story. And as of late, controversial in terms of some of the politics that are going on with their company. And that story, by the way, of Uber is imperiling the great success that they've had, and whether or not they can continue. But whether Uber succeeds in this, like reinventing transportation, or it's Lyft or some other technology, someone's going to do it. And there's a great disruption and a great consolidation that will start, and I believe is starting, in control for information. And governments are going to try and do it, and gatekeepers. Even Facebook is going to start becoming really, really picky about who it lets on its ad platform, because the Facebook news inventory is, more and more people are coming on every day putting up ads, and Facebook, the cost per click on Facebook is going to go up, and Facebook's going to severely prejudice quality because its inventory is now going to be depleted, and only quality will survive on Facebook. And I've even heard predictions that after a while, Facebook won't let certain kind of ads on there that they're certainly letting on right now, because It's just not creating a good experience. So you have to surf that wave and stay ahead of this demand, this craving for better stories, better authenticity, truth that people can believe. No story is 100% true, but is it useful? Is it productive? And is it not? And there's great pressure on Facebook to get rid of all the junk on there, because the users aren't going to stay there if they're not having a great experience, because people are taking advantage of them from an information side. And it's an arms race. And to me, the great consolidation in every industry, no matter what industry you're in, if you're in a local business market or you're in a global market, is going to come down to who can tell a better story. And the ones that survive in the publishing world are certainly going to be the ones who become the trusted places where stories are great and curated, and stuff that's dishonest and harmful and not useful is really thrown to the side.